And I am jumping on quickly tonight to talk a little bit about the value of networking. And I find that I've done it for now 10 years and I was kind of thrown into it. So when I started this business back 10 plus years ago, I started with a business partner and I was the introvert, she was the extrovert. And she's like, yeah, you go network. And I was like, what? Me go network? Like I had never networked in my life. She'd owned a business before. And it was probably the best thing she could have told me to do because it forced me into building relationships, getting comfortable talking to people about our business, all those things that we usually have that a lot of times if you haven't networked before, you have that, I don't know if it's a negative connotation or you're just intimidated by it or whatever it is. But in reality, networking is simply building relationships. That's what it is. It's not, hey, I'm going to walk into this event and I'm going to get business right now. You might, but it's not a given. And unfortunately, I still see today, it's just funny. I've been to so many events over the years and I still see, and just say it's a one-off event, like it's a luncheon or it's a, whatever it is, it's not like a structured thing that's every month or every week or whatever. I still see people walk in and they hand out their card and expect business from it. Like they won't even ask you anything about you or what you do. They're all about making sure you know who they are and what they do and handing you a card. And then they don't even, and getting your card. Don't forget that. And then they, of course, attempt to follow up with you and then are surprised when you're basically telling them to get lost. Because who wants to do business with someone like that, right? And I made a difficult decision today. So I'm a member of NPI, Network Professionals Incorporated of the Palm Beaches. And I made a difficult decision today to move from a Zoom group to a in-person group. And I've been thinking about it for a while, and I really liked my Zoom group, but I just felt like in-person is a place I needed to be. I do a ton of stuff online like this, and in-person was the place I needed to be to really maximize the network I do here locally. And that's why I decided to do the Zoom group, or to leave the Zoom group and go to the in-person group. And I will tell you, I walked into the group today, like huge confirmation that I made the absolute right choice to do it. I, wish my old group well. I hope they still do great. And there's a great group of people in there and there's no hard feelings, but ultimately I had to do what was right for myself and my business. But I want to talk about 5 tips tonight on networking. And the first one is being genuine and authentic. So when I reference that sometimes I still see these people that just run around and hand out cards and grab your card and follow up and then are surprised that they don't get any business from you. Be genuine and authentic. I want to get to know who you are and what makes you tick. And ultimately, that's what I'm looking to do in networking. I'm looking to build the relationship. And I realize that sometimes I meet someone and they need exactly what I'm offering occasionally. That's a rare occasion. But then oftentimes what it is I'm building a relationship with that person. And then maybe they need something down the road, or maybe they meet someone that needs something. And that's really the beauty of networking. Is it's not about, hey, I need this business right this second. It's about how do we build the relationships and set those relationships in motion to help each other. Number 2, prepare an elevator speech. I don't really like that term, elevator speech, but know what you're going to say when you're speaking. Don't like hem and haw and like, yeah, I help, I'm a banker, or I'm a marketer, or I'm a, just some random statement. Have a kind of a rehearsed set speech, even if it's 20, 30 seconds of what you do. And then you can go from there. You can certainly expand. You can certainly, improve upon that and all that. Ask some questions of the person you're speaking to, but know what you want to talk about. Don't just give the pat and, I work for Synovus Bank, or I work for I Think Financial. No, what do you do to help your customers? listen more than you talk. And this is probably the biggest one and sometimes the hardest one, because what do we want to do when we walk into networking things, or when we're, when we're looking to build relationships? We want to talk. We all want to talk about ourselves most of the time, and I'm not a huge person to talk about myself, but we want to talk. We want to share what we know, what we do, all those things. But a lot of times you can learn a lot more from listening to someone instead of talking and asking questions. So I'm not saying don't talk at all, but ask questions about what they're doing. Ask questions to learn more about them and their business. That's more powerful, because then they're answering those questions. And a lot of times you may open doors that they didn't even know they needed. And you may open those doors, especially if they don't understand what you do. I mean, a lot of times, people are basic and they understand what, a banker does, for example. But if it's, say, a credit union that does a little bit differently, as a credit union person, like I could say, if I worked for a credit union, I don't, but my accounts are with a credit union. I could say, how many fees do you pay at, whatever bank you bank at? Do you pay any fees? Just open-ended questions. Do you pay any fees on your accounts? Well, there's no fees at a credit union, right? So do you get additional benefits? So a lot of times at credit unions, I get potential benefits with like life insurance. I still have to pay for it, but I get benefits that come with my credit union account. Things like that. So I can just ask some questions and potentially open the door to a greater conversation and maybe a follow-up conversation. So listen more than you talk. That's like a key thing. Follow up. This is probably where a lot of people drop the ball, and I've certainly dropped the ball before. But follow up is probably once you go to an event, or you go to, say you go weekly to something. Like, so I mentioned I'm in NPI and I go once a week to the group. Well, part of what I'm supposed to do, it's a structured networking group, is I'm supposed to have so many one-on-ones per year. So in my group, I have the opportunity to meet with any of those people, or I have the opportunity to meet with people in other groups, right? But that's part of the follow-up, because I don't want to just show up to a group once a week. So that's great. And that's, great, because people see me once a week and I have the opportunity to engage with them once a week. But where the real kind of meat and potatoes happen is in the follow-up, because it helps me share more about me personally, and then vice versa, that person shares more about themselves personally. Because ultimately, we do business with who we know, like, and trust. So it may or may not be about what you do. It may be about how you are. Maybe you're side by side with someone else that does exactly what you do, but you've met with this person who owns this company multiple times, and they really trust you because they've built that relationship with you. But the follow-up can be many, many different ways. So you can pick up the phone and call them, and that's kind of a lost art. And I will say I don't do that probably nearly enough, but my goal is to always follow up, at least via email. And then if I don't hear back from that person, then to pick up the phone and call them and say, hey, I sent an email. I'd love to get together for a coffee, or it could just be an open-ended follow-up. It could be, hey, we met the other night at this event. I loved our conversation, and reference something about the conversation. And you don't have to follow up with everyone you meet. Don't get me wrong, because sometimes you meet somebody and you're like, maybe not. But if it's someone that maybe he's not a potential client right now, maybe he's never going to be a potential client, but maybe it's someone you could build that relationship with who could refer you business, why not follow up? And then how can you help them? Because that's ultimately, you're trying to help the other person too, because we're all in this together. We are all trying to build each other's businesses. It's not all about me, 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 me. I need business and that's it. No, we are trying to help each other build our businesses. So we're in this together. So how can you help the other person as well? Because a lot of times I'll connect someone. I mean, is there someone, I'm in a couple of different chambers, and I'm more entrenched in the Delray chamber. So a lot of times in the Delray chamber, I'll be like, is there someone you want to meet? Is there a certain industry you want to meet? I may or may not know the person, but if I do, what a great way for me to connect them. I can connect them. And then finally, leverage social media. And social media is a great tool to follow up with too, because, in marketing, you always want so many touches. If someone's going to buy from you in whatever way that is, a lot of times I've heard 7 touches. I've heard, 5 touches. I've heard, it just depends on which article you read, to be honest. But social media allows us to stay in front of people. So like connect with the person on LinkedIn. If you're on Facebook, connect with them on Facebook. There's different ways to connect with them and stay in touch with them. So you're not just, maybe you still get together for a coffee. Great. But obviously you're not going to always pick up the phone every week and say, hey, how you doing? No, but you could connect with them, like comment on their post on Facebook. Hey, Carol, comment on their post on, LinkedIn, but interact with them on those platforms. I mean, I know I try to, I'll scroll through Facebook and the LinkedIn, and I will try, if I see someone, especially someone I, actually know and not someone I've connected with, but I've never met and I've never had a conversation with, I do my best to at least engage in the conversation. Hey, Karen, thanks for jumping on. I do my best to at least like their post, maybe make a quick comment on the post, because that's how we engage. And you also are able to stay in front of people that way too. And just build those relationships. Again, networking is about relationships. And that's the biggest thing I can emphasize. Networking is about relationships. And you have to want to build relationships and play the long game in networking. So figure out where the best place is for you to network. Again, I mentioned that in my networking, I do a lot of online marketing and things on different social media platforms, but in my in-person networking here in the Palm Beach County area, I'm in 2 different chambers. I'm in an NPI group. And, those are what really help me build those core relationships. And it also gives me great opportunities to refer other people, because I get asked all the time, hey, do you know a plumber? Do you know an electrician? Do you know someone that prints? Hey, I know all those people. I can refer you to those people. And they're people I've used, and they're people that I trust. And ultimately, that's what we want. We want to be able to refer other people. And that's another way to build relationships, is because I'm networking with you and, continuing to build those relationships. Yeah, I know, Carol, I see all your stuff about networking, and you're in chambers and the online networking group, and even in Toastmasters, you're in Toastmasters. I think Toastmasters is a great place. You're not officially networking, but you're still building those relationships, right? And you're still talking about what you do. So typically in your speeches, a lot of that will come through. So absolutely. So figure out what works for you, where your ideal clients are. That's a key piece, is where are they? And those are the places you want to network. You don't have to just blanket a bunch of places. I know people that join like 5 chambers and then they don't go to anything because there's no possible way. We're in 2 chambers, but I also have myself and my business partner, Jack, that goes to different things. So we can kind of divide and conquer. Sometimes we go to events together, depending on the event. And sometimes, like, I'm going to a chamber lunch, a Delray chamber lunch tomorrow. He has a Boca chamber leads group tomorrow. So we have 2 different things, but we're able to interact in those chambers at the same time. So I think that's the value of networking. Again, the 5 points I talked about, be genuine and authentic, prepare an elevator speech. And it doesn't have to be the same thing. I'm not a big fan of like elevator pitches. Some people do like excel at it. I don't find like I'm the be all end all in that, but prepare like a simple 20, 30 second thing, and not just like, I'm a banker, or I'm a marketer, or I'm a coach. People want to know more about what you do. So at least have like a clear idea and confident idea. Because that's a lot of times the ones I see that aren't confident in networking, it comes through on that specifically. It comes through when I ask you like, hey, what do you do? That's where it comes through, because you don't sound confident in what you do. So you have to sound confident, because you have to love what you do and really be impassioned in when you share about it. And then listen more than you talk. Again, this was a big one I talked about. Definitely, you have to listen more than you talk. Ask questions, because that's a great way to get the other person to talk. Ask open-ended questions and they'll answer the questions, and you can talk about what you're doing. So in my industry of marketing, or, I can say, how many hits have you gotten on your website? Like who, and I'm not looking necessarily to pull them from someone else, because that's not my style, but I can talk about, hey, where do you get most of your business? Do you get it through networking? Do you get it from your website? Like I can talk about things like that just open the door a little bit, and listen to their responses. And then follow up's a key piece. That's probably a place that a lot of people are the weakest at. They meet people and then they don't follow up. They drop the ball, and they're like, a week later, they look at this card and they're like, who was this person? Like, where did I meet him? And then finally, leverage social media. So stay in front of people, because obviously you're going to follow up. Hopefully you get together with them, even if you do a quick Zoom meeting, phone call, coffee, drink, whatever you want to do, lunch, whatever you want to do. But the social media then allows you to stay in front of them. So whether you're on Facebook and you're friending them, whether you're on, LinkedIn, whatever platform you use, that's up to you. So I hope this was helpful for some people, because networking is a big piece of our business. And I've done it for 10 plus years. And I know I've seen the do's and don'ts, and I've probably experienced from my own end the do's and don'ts and improved over time. So have a great night. And thanks for the comments, Carol, Karen. I appreciate you guys jumping on. And anyone else that's listening to the replay, please feel free to comment. I'd love to hear what you say. And if there's anything you want me to talk about in my live streams, my goal is to live stream 4 times a week. So I'd love some feedback, because I'm open to doing some other ones. Thanks. Bye for now.